Good evening and welcome to tonight's show from DJNTV, Disc Jockey News TV. Tonight's show is brought to you by Electra Voice, DJ Event Planner, DJ Trivia, Odyssey Innovative Designs and Cases, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, and the DJNTV Insiders.
DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
And just like that, we are here. Thank you very much for checking us out and tuning in on this wonderful Monday night. Again, thank you very much for taking the time. And if you're kind of catching us later because some links were a little bit different, well, that teaches you. You just need to make sure that you like, subscribe, and all the good stuff to the Disc Jockey News Facebook, or no, I'm sorry, not Facebook, but rather YouTube page. And then when something goes live, you just follow that and forget about any links that John may have done correctly.
Did wrong once again. Whoops.
It happens. It happens. Hey, at least he tried to put a link out there. But if nothing else, you got another view of last week's show for a little bit, right?
Exactly. And now that we know what NAMM was all about, you can find all the things that we didn't know and what we said was wrong, and you can laugh at us. And I mean, not that people would.
No, never.
I'm trying to go to Facebook. Dan, tell that joke because I'm trying to get the Facebook thing all set up here.
That joke. That joke.
Keep people entertained while MJ and I are getting the links shared around here.
I got it right.
You gotta get to work too.
Oh.
So here's the deal. We do want to thank you for tuning in. If you were expecting, again, Shaney's got 5 on it. We had to take another week to talk about NAMM because we did the preview show.
I got my wig.
NAMM happened.
Dang, the
wig.
Now
we have to do the review show. And MJ forgot his wig.
I totally would have wore one too, just for fun of it. I'm sorry.
So tonight's show is titled the review of NAMM 2019, subtitled "How Megaseg." No, saved NAMM. Isn't that what you?
Yeah, that's what I made a joke whether we should have a subtitle that Megaseg saved NAMM, but it didn't.
It didn't. So. Oh. Well, I was hoping. I mean, I didn't catch that press release, but you never know.
I heard they had a booth on the corner 5 blocks away.
5 blocks away. And
that was a homeless guy asking for money. Yeah, which is basically the same thing as using Megaseg.
He was there too. It was great, man. It was great.
I'm so sorry. I don't mean to bust on that. Use whatever you like. It's just our inside joke for those of you who don't know. Anytime we say the M word, everybody has to take a drink. It's like our drinking game.
Yeah, we're really hardcore.
We actually legitimately turned this into a drinking game. Oh, it would be a whole different type of show.
Yes, if it was that type of drinking game.
But anyway. So we got some great products that we're going to be talking about, as John said, some enlightenment that we got. If you did not get a chance to check out the videos and the recap videos from the show floor, make sure you take a moment to do so. Not now. We're live now. Do it after the show. But you can find out all the breakdown, because I'm telling you, some very, very in-depth videos. I was quite impressed. I spent probably a little too much time watching John and hearing about all those wonderful products.
Yeah, we've got quite a few. We got quite a few of the videos that are already up. You can go out to the YouTube channel, the youtube.com/discjockeynews, and click on the playlist, and you'll be able to see the NAMM 2019 playlist. And I've got about half the videos. We didn't shoot as many this year, and I'll talk more about that as we go on, but there's about half the videos, maybe between a third and half, are up. And some of the more important ones, some of the ones I thought were like, this is really cool. I wanted to get those up right away. And then there's some that will kind of fill in some blanks and such with new products that are out from some of our regular folks that'll come out in the next few days. So
And if you have questions tonight, there's a live chat going on. Feel free to ask.
Yeah, that sounds good. Howie's going to be drinking coffee all night, so he's going to make it. He'll be up all night. So, where do we
start?
There's so much to cover. In the last show that we just did with Mike Weeder, I kind of mentioned that that tonight's going to be a combination of talking about the positives of NAMM and talking about the negatives. And we're going to touch on one of the negatives that Phil Morris from Digital DJ Tips, he shared probably the first time, MJ, I've ever seen him basically come out in the title of a video and basically was dissing a product. Maybe he's done it before. I don't think I've ever seen it before. So
I think that was partially done to get click.
Certainly was.
But it's the truth. I mean, he didn't lie. He didn't, in his statement, what he said, he didn't lie. He was talking about the new Technique 1200 MK7, talking about how it's just too little too late. And I couldn't agree more. For those of you who know me, I have nothing against if you choose to use Serato vinyl. That's up to you, or any vinyl, not Serato vinyl, because you can use other programs with that DVS system. If you want to use that, that's fine. But as things change, people a lot of times don't seem to understand how quickly it changes, and especially how the next generation looks at it. And I explained it to a friend of mine this way, that a 20-year-old looking at a 30-year-old person, that 30-year-old person's old to them. It might not be old to you now, however old you are, but when you're 20, a 30-year-old person is old. Yep. So is 30-year-old technology. So they want to use new stuff. And especially, I've heard so many young DJs who do spin on the DVS systems say the only reason I learned to spin on the DVS systems is so the older guys will let me DJ with them. So that is a piece of technology that I'm not dissing its quality, because the new one does change some things that are needed. Because one of the things with that coreless engine and a coreless motor, and the little chip on there that steadies the BPM. I was actually at a place a couple weeks ago where they were spinning DVS, and it was the club's turntables. And when the 1200s get old, they get a little wear in them, and they speed up and slow down. But it's so minute that unless you have a song playing, you couldn't look at it and see it. But that song was going in the club, in a big giant club, because that thing, they couldn't do anything other than switch Serato over to internal, because whatever speed that turntable's turning, you're going to get that sound. The new 1200 MK7 fixes that issue, but it's still the same issue that somebody who wants to spin that could easily switch over to the 12s by rain, or possibly, you would still get that variation if you use the phase system. But Phil just kind of told it like it was, that it's, they waited all these years to come out with something new, and all they did was fix the motor, which was needed, but big whoop-de-doo. I gotta say.
And I actually talked to a couple of manufacturers that somewhat related to this, meaning that there's only so many people who are going to buy that particular turntable, because there's not a huge audience for that. I was talking to one manufacturer who is a case manufacturer, and they are coming out with a new case, and that case, they've got 150 of them. That's the full run.
Yeah.
So they have 150 of them to sell. And it makes me wonder to myself, it's like, is it even worth me shooting a video? Because
I know someone who recently purchased 2 old MK2s for, what did he tell me? 2 of them, I think he said $500 for 2 of them, then put about another $150 into upgrades and fixes, and more or less has close to the same thing, because it doesn't have the double RPM that the new ones, the MK7 has. So basically, he has a rebuilt brand new for like $600, $700, which is half the price of one of the new ones.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder how many they're going to actually make. I mean, is it going to be that they're getting 1,000 of them in? Is it going to be they're getting 500 of them in, 100? Where's the audience anymore for that? I just don't.
It's out there, but if they would have cut the price down to equal with what the 12 was, I think they would have an audience. A lot of guys have those older ones that have the rear and want just something new. And I guarantee if they would have cut the price down like $800 each instead of $1,200 each, I guarantee people would buy. The guys who love that would have snatched 4 of them up at a time, because they want something new. They're tired of the other ones, tired of that play in there. But I'm not interested. I don't know. Somebody out there is, or they wouldn't make it. Because if you want to see something really weird, and I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, that there is an audience for almost everything in the DJ world. Go out and look up a DJ device called the pacemaker. Okay, just go look it up. Not now. Afterwards, look it up, and then go look up how many of them they sold, because they sold so freaking many of these things. I personally know 2 friends who have them. They've never used them anywhere, and they paid several hundreds and hundreds of dollars for this handheld device for DJing. And so there's an audience for everything. So if they make, let's say they sell 300,000 turntables, John, over the entire world, that could be enough for them to keep that profit and because they haven't put a whole lot of R&D into this, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the part that just astounds me, is that they all this work, all this, and then how many they're making. So yeah, that was definitely one of the interesting things. I went and I looked at it, and I looked at that, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. And what's new? What's going to attract? My 16-year-old son Michael. He looked at that and he's like, I played with motorized platters. He goes, that's where I want to go. I want to go with the phase system with the motorized platters. I don't want to touch this. And then we went over and we looked at the little phase dongle, the Prime system that that Denon had. Then we went over and looked at the little phase thing, and the guy was up there doing his thing, and it was the joke walking by, as DJs are walking by, because we watched, because the young man scratching was really good, and Michael wants to get into more scratching, so he was watching and picking up ideas. 3 DJs walked by, and they're like, oh, there's that piece that'll never ship. And they continued walking by. And that's the,
Did you watch the show the other night with Cadillac, Superfly, and I?
No, I haven't. I didn't.
You didn't get to check that one. Because Superfly made the joke. He goes, in the time that they put those out, he goes, my wife and I made a baby and had a baby. So you can make a baby faster than you can make a phase.
Oh, that's funny. And so
I mean, but I think it's going to be something, in my idea of the world who uses the turntables, I think that's going to be something that's going to be good. I know people that have orders in for them, so that it's one of those things that it's just a way to step away from the needle, still keep the thing you have, not have to spend a whole lot of money on a new turntable, like buying a 12, but you can keep whatever you have. Even if it's an old crappy turntable, you can slap that on there and go to town, and you can walk up to other systems that are running and do that. And I think it's good. I think it's the next step. So that generation and those people who like that turntable stuff don't like to change. The whole idea is that they want to have the software run exactly the same as it's always run, look exactly the same as it's always run. Don't even change the freaking logo. They'll get upset. But the phase system will let them have a little bit more technology, but still keep the old ways. So I think it's a good bridge. I really do. It's a good bridge.
Yeah, I think that was in the turntable area. That was still probably the best thing that I saw there. I saw a few more things that guys were doing, and you just didn't. The 12s, people were still lining up and looking at those and thought those were still pretty cool, but you just didn't see a lot of turntables anymore. So. Probably the darling of the show, as far as in the DJ community that got the most buzz, was from the Denon room, which once again, Denon and the InMusic company had a private room. You had to make an appointment to be in there beforehand. So you look at who was the first ones in the Denon room. You had us, number 1 in line. You had Digital DJ Tips, number 2 in line. We get in there, and I had the first appointment with Jay Cunningham, who's product head developer for the Prime 4 system. So we shot that video that Dan was referring to, 35 minutes. We were aiming for 10. We just about hit 10. And he went through an incredibly in-depth walkthrough of the Prime 4 and its functionality and things. So it was kind of neat. Jay and I are over here doing the thing and watch it, and Phil is behind, just off to the side there, and he's able to watch the thing. So then he came through and he did his take on it, where he actually brought his thumb drive in, and he was able to do some things and then explain some features. So it was kind of a cool thing to be able to watch how that all came together. But I would say, though, of all the things I saw in the DJ realm, that was the big thing. MJ, did you see anything else that really kind of stood out?
I'm just showing him your video. This is the video. In case you want to see it, he goes through it in this much depth. If you've not seen it, take the time to watch through it. It's neat, because here's the thing that you need to kind of learn is that it may not be something you're interested in, but it's technology that's coming your way. So whether you're interested in purchasing this particular exact unit. A lot of the technology that's in this is coming your way. So I'm going to be doing a video soon talking about the all-in-one systems. Like this is, a standalone system. And there's actually more out there that went on, because at the expo, besides that, there was, let me find it here. I have a picture here. There was this that was put out by Gemini. This was a prototype that they were showing off. Yep. And this is an all-in-one unit. And I think that this is kind of neat, because this also not only has the little platters right here that you can nudge stuff digitally inside, it's in the form factor of a mixer. So think about using this as a standalone and 2 turntables if you wanted to.
Yeah.
It gives you an option that way. And the other one that came out that's also a standalone, and it's still also a prototype, is DJ Kubert and his group Thud Rumble has come out with the Invader DJ mixer. And this is a mixer they've been developing for a while, has a screen in there, touch, your pads and everything, running a Windows-based system and a full software right there. And it works the same way that you would hook it up with 2 DVS turntables, and no computer needed, DJ straight from there.
And off you go.
So that world is kind of changing a little bit, and that's why with the new Denon Prime 4, it's a technology that's coming at you, because there are currently, I think, 8 or 10. What was my numbers there? That has that. There is, I must have closed that out. I thought I had it open here. But there's a boatload of ones that do standalone. And that's kind of the next thing. You remember a few years ago when everybody wanted to put a screen on a turntable. Mm-hmm. I mean, a screen on a controller. Yeah. And what was it? A couple years before that, it has to have two sound cards, and all in one. And I think it's the next logical step. I see it. I didn't see it going this way as quickly as I saw that. I thought that they would develop the software, which Tractor did. And that's another thing to think about here. Tractor did put out their new Tractor software, and also a Tractor app that you can DJ from the Tractor app seamlessly from a tablet. And that's where I kind of thought that the business would go. Instead of the all-in-one, you would get software apps that work and look identical to the software. And you would, instead of plugging in your computer to it, you would come in with your tablet that has a big drive or some sort of hub that has an extra drive, and DJ off of that to where it kind of stays out of the way. You can still just kind of select and do tracks and set it up how you want. But this is also good too. But that's where I think that all kind of comes in, where that new technology is just edging in, because not everybody, because like I grab stuff every 2 years is kind of like my new way of things. Most people are probably 4 years. They'll hold on to a controller for 4 or 5 years. So that technology that's here today, think about that today. A lot of guys won't pick something up like that until 2023, 2024. So that's why I say kind of get familiar with it, because it's coming. I think it's good. Those were the big things that I saw. I mean, I'm not saying it's the only stuff I saw, because there was a bunch of stuff they had, but those were kind of the ones that stood out. I expected something from Pioneer. Pioneer gave us nothing that I saw. I don't know where they're at. I think they maybe are sneaking something in for Mobile Beat, is my thought, so that they can stand out a little bit.
I don't think they. I don't think that they're at Mobile Beat. If I'm not mistapen, I don't think they're.
I don't remember seeing them on the list.
I think, and this is something we kind of mentioned a little bit. I think in one of the talks I've had, maybe I didn't, but because of the internet, they can launch things any time of the year, and they can get their buzz. So technically, they can get more buzz if they launch it at a different time of the year, because social media will go crazy for it. And I mean, MJ, you and I've seen that, where they've somebody's launched a controller and they send it out, and you go, hey guys, do a video on us. I don't remember if it was the 7,000 or 8,000 that we did. That it came out and we had it, and then we did our video on it, and it goes crazy. So.
Yeah, because that's a whole different world. Back again to the changing of times. I got into a big thing with the other day about people talking about, why don't people go to the expos? Why don't they go to learn? Well, this next generation knows that they can go online and learn. And a lot of guys that they're older, they argue, oh, but it's not the same. You're not actually learning. You're just seeing people do stuff. But this next generation, instead of sitting down in front of someone teaching them something, taking down notes and doing what that person says, they'll go online, watch 20, 30, 40, 50 videos, take the best ideas from all 50 of those, mold them together into their own idea, and put their own thing out there. Mm-hmm. Both, to me, are education. They're just different types of education.
So,
I think. In my opinion.
I had the question, MJ, again, staying with the Prime 4. Some people were asking, will DJs really use this? And I'm actually going to take this to you, Dan. Is Dan, you use your virtual DJ, and you've got your controller doing your things. Part of that Prime 4, to really take advantage of it, you've got to be using the engine software that's in there. Yes, you can hook it up with Serato, but it then defeats the purpose of being a standalone. Would you, at this point in your career, be interested in making a jump and learning a whole new, basically somewhat similar, but yet a new DJing operating system and utilizing a system like that?
So the short of it is yes. Mainly because when I started watching your video, and I'll be honest, when I got into it and we talked about it last week, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of cool. But I kind of, like with you, I wasn't sure if I'd wanted to learn new software. I wasn't sure if I was ready for kind of a changeover and that kind of thing. As I watched it, I was seeing a lot of similarities. So in addition to using virtual, I also use Serato. So it kind of depends on what my avenue is and what I'm playing for. So I'm familiar with both. And I saw a lot of similarities, at least within the screen setup and the crate setup and that, to what Serato does. So for me, it seemed very familiar. One of my biggest issues when I was looking at it was, how am I going to search for stuff? How am I going to pull up crates? Now, I was curious to see the library setup. I was curious to see how am I going to have a playlist kind of preloaded. I mean, if their whole internal hard drive of a terabyte, that's a ton of music to be able to kind of quickly look through. And so as a result, I was wanting to know how that could work in. So I think obviously if you've only ever played on one software, I think you will have a hard time making that adjustment, if you will. But if you start looking for similarities that you can start to pull in and pull together, again, assuming you're using this as a standalone and not as the computer extension, you're going to start to be able to see a lot of pieces that will help you in the long run. The one thing that I would like to be able to see also is just kind of a, I guess, mobile setup to it, for lack of a better term. So I can see in a club where this is not really moving and we can build some other pieces to it. But if I'm going to be transporting this from place to place, they talked about the keyboard that you could integrate with it so that you can help with the search. I know there's the screen as well. The one thing that made me nervous, there's a lot happening on the screen. So if I'm doing a search, I feel a little hesitant to go to the screen as well. They had the mic inputs on the back, but where am I going to be placing my mic receivers in a mobile setup? So I'm curious to see what some cases that might come out from this.
Sure.
But that was kind of an extension, I think, of what you had asked. But yeah, I think it's from the software. If you start looking for similarities, you'll quickly find that it's not as different as it might sound. Of course, once I got in there, I think that might be different. I haven't.
It will transpose over your crates. So if you have a crate system in your Serato, it will automatically, like, let's say you ghosted your laptop drive onto because it takes an internal SATA drive, and if you just ghosted it over, whatever crates you had in Serato will be in there as crates also. So it's kind of intuitive that way. It's if you've ever played, Dan, did you get to play with the Prime 5000 SC5000 Expo? Okay, because it's a lot like that. Or if you just download the Prime engine software, it's a lot like that. It's not too difficult. Like I said, if you take a few steps and look at it for what it is, that you could either use it as a standalone as a controller, or decide that you always have a backup. Because I was trying to think in cases where would I use the standalone by itself? Where would I use the take the computer along with me, not use the computer, just use the standalone? And other places where I'd go, I definitely want to use the computer as opposed to the standalone. So I kind of see it as being that you can have both, and it's your backup that's always there in case something crashes and craps out. But
now, in the question though, because I kind of the flip side of that, I guess, if I'm using that for my main, and this is one question that maybe John, you could take back to him if it wasn't answered in the video. If it was, I missed it. With my 7000 and our 6000 and some of these other ones that we've had with it, if my computer goes down, this still becomes a mixer that I can run stuff in and run it through. I know I had the ability to run stuff into that. I saw there had the multiple RCA inputs in the back.
Yep.
But because so much runs through that screen and that processor, if that goes down, are those ports still able to be used as just a block mixer?
Yes.
Okay.
They're all standalone mixers, but think about, like, if you said your laptop on there and the laptop craps out on the Prime 4, you literally flip a switch and your boom, music's coming out of that right now.
But I'm worried if the drive, not necessarily the SATA drive, but if the operating system drive on that goes down, because so much was controlled through the screen and through the settings.
Yeah, that would only be that goes down. Your computer would still be able to communicate, because there's a difference between the screen making music happen and your computer making music happen. Those are two different things. So if it went down, your MIDI would still read, because your computer.
And that's the question I was hoping.
Yeah, your computer's reading the buttons, what's called a generic MIDI button system, which most of them are nowadays, except for a few that Pioneer puts out that they're hogging to keep their record box software out, which just drives me crazy. But yeah, that's kind of the purpose of it. So it becomes a dummy backup. But I mean, how much of a dummy backup do people need? Could you buy like the 8000 that has a little backup, or could you use like our 7000 that has two sound cards and have two computers? Because a lot of guys who DJ weddings, even without a fancy system, have two laptops going just in case. I mean, I see lots of them do it. I'm going to have two running no matter what, so I always have something. So it's a little bit of both. Someone in the chat goes, he doesn't see how this can sell. It's a different audience because it's split into two. One, they are trying to push now, because the Prime, their tagline is change your rider, and it's for the guys who tour in the clubs. Instead of asking for the CDJs, ask for the Denon. And now they've taken this to a point where they're trying to make this be something that can be put into clubs all the time, that DJs can come in with a thumb drive, drop it in, DJ their night at the club, pull their thumb drive out, and leave.
Yep.
And that's kind of their push for that. So this device, I think, is incredible, but I think it has a small audience, because the same as Pioneer came out with that, what is it, the RZ or the RX2 and the RR, which are also standalones, that the price and the size are going to hold people back, because like you said, Dan, that's a lot to carry. And then in your scenario, adding mics to it, wireless mic systems to it, let alone it being by itself, it's big. And number two, how many DJs are, because you have to realize how many DJs are part-time DJs. Most of them out there are part-time DJs. Are they going to drop $1,700 on a device, or are they going to go out and drop $500 on something else that they're happy with? Because you know what the number one selling DJ controller for 2017 was? It was that what is the one with the lights party to go? The Newmark. The Newmark party to go. By volume. Yeah, but keep in mind that it only cost $50, but that was the highest selling product. The most products moved in a 12-month period for that year. That's why I say that this is awesome. The technology's coming, but because of the size and the price, it is a limited audience, and they know that. So
it is ironic that you mentioned that board, because that's the one that Michael took with in his luggage, and he was in the hotel room in the evenings practicing, because he had a show Saturday night and he was working on some songs. And sure enough, the little lights in the front and dancing around the hotel room was, ooh, this is kind of cool. And actually, if he'd have had a Bluetooth speaker, he would have been able to take it out on the deck in front of there and probably had a little party there with the hotel.
In the chat room, somebody says, no way clubs will use this. I can tell you a fact right now that I know clubs that are switching, that will no longer let people use needles in clubs. It either has to be a CDJ, a 12, or a turntable with the phase system. So as this develops, and again, as this next generation comes along, the owners now might go, well, real DJ uses turntables. The next generation, you get another 10 years under your belt, that guy who's 30 that's managing the club is going to move on, and another guy who is 20 now is now 30 managing the club is going to be going, well, why wouldn't we use use controllers? They work better.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Trust me, from a person who's been around when people said no one will ever DJ with a CD. And they did. And then they said no one will ever DJ with a laptop. And they did. And they said no one will ever DJ with a controller. And they did. These things just happen. Whether you like it or not, They're going to happen, and that's why Phil took the line that he took with the 1200 MK7, is that it's just not new.
Yeah.
That's all. People, it's like cars. Classic cars are nice, but how many of us would rather own a new car?
Yeah. You know.
That's all. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. You know, everyone is. I'm a firm believer. Use what you want to use. But there was more at NAMM than that, wasn't there, John?
Yep. Let's continue on here.
I don't want to beat that to death.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and it was the big thing. I mean, even as you're talking to most of the companies, that was one of the things that they talked about. Last year, I mentioned, of course, the line array. This year, we had a couple of different line arrays there. MJ, if you want to grab one of the array videos there, I don't know which one. There was. Sure. I think I've got a couple of them. We had PV had one, Avante Audio had one, and Gemini had one that I did a video on, and I think there was a fourth one.
Let's see here, Fog.
But the PV one was basically, I would put that in the category of being like the Evolve 50, is I think what they were. And what PV did with theirs is that the pole has all of the electronic connections or the audio connections in that. It's a two-piece top speaker that you can see kind of will click together here in just a moment. But it has the little mixer on it, very much like the Evolve 50. Price point, very much like the Evolve 50. Sound quality, we didn't listen to it in a very loud volume, but I mean, it had a nice sound for a compact form factor. Just a neat little unit there that will be something, I think, that down the road, that if you're a PV fan, it's definitely something you wanted to check out. Avante had a little one that came out. And I mentioned in a video what the price was on that one. Avante's is an 8-inch sub and the kind of more of a ceremony system from Avante. Nice form factor, a nice look. It's basically a small unit that's, again, for ceremony, and it had a really aggressive price point on it. I don't remember exactly what it was on that one, but so
how many brands right now, John, have something similar to this?
For sure, I know right off the top of my head. Of course, we've got the RCF with the JMix, and they've got the Evox line, so that's almost two. Granted, they're the same, but they're. You've got the LD Systems that has one. You've got JBL that has one. The only one, truthfully, the only major manufacturer that don't would be Mackie and
QSC. Yeah,
QSC. Those are the two that really don't have.
I asked a question to you a while back. I'm going to bring up. Is this the K Arise? Is that also one of those? The K
Array.
K Array. Do you want to show that one or not?
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that because that was something unique, truly unique. That little K Array lizard system.
Yeah. My question is, as technology changes, and how many DJs before would never touch a non-brand light, like an uplight or something, but now will be willing to buy what people call the Chinese brand or the off-brand lights. There are these type of speaker systems that are coming out off-brand. Mm-hmm. And how do you think that will affect the business of those? Will people switch over more willingly if they pay a lot less for it, like they do with the lights?
I think you're going to see that. And I've had this discussion with different representatives at the speaker companies, and they think that DJs are going to want to listen to their speakers before they buy. I think that those days will be limited, or they won't care as much if Amazon offers free shipping on speakers and free return. If they offer free return on speakers, DJs aren't going to care because, you know what? Let's get them here. I'm going to actually take them and I'll try them. And if I don't like them, Monday I ship them back. If Amazon does that and does it on a consistent basis, this really going to spell the end for a lot of our dealer friends because the lighting companies are starting to move that way. The Chinese, as I'm walking through the area where there's the Chinese companies, the as available on Amazon sticker was everywhere. Which was that was a big difference between last year and this year. Is that first off, there weren't as many Chinese companies, but we'll get into that in a bit. But the as seen on Amazon type of thing, instead of as seen on TV, that was everywhere. And it used to be when I'd go through and I would be seeing something kind of cool, and it would be like, do you have a distributor in the United States? And they would be like, oh, no, would you like to sell them? You buy a bunch, kind of a thing. And it was, on Amazon.
Yeah.
Here's our Amazon link.
All right, so here is the K-array. You can talk about it if you like.
So this little lizard, that is a 4-inch tall. That is a little bit bigger than a highlighter, basically. 2 little speakers, and then they have a subwoofer in the bottom. And the subwoofer is probably, if you would lay maybe a 2-liter bottle of pop on its side, or soda on its side, that's about the size of what that was. Those 3 little tiny speakers could fill this room, and the video we shot, you can actually go listen to the audio of what came out of that. They could get generally about 4 times the volume of what was in there. It's not going to give you dance floor quality or level sound, because you're talking tiny. That's 1 inch wide, that little speaker. But there's some applications that technology, when it hits the next generation, when they go and put it into the next round of speakers, and they're now going from that 1 inch wide to a 2 inch wide, the hidden speaker idea is really what they're trying to show. That particular little speaker is being used at in game shows right now, in some different production, where they need to have it, as you've probably seen that stupid game shows, the mask, unmask the whatever, I don't know, the masked artist.
The singer that they don't let you know. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, they were having a problem with those folks, because they couldn't hear. They weren't, the monitors and such, the in-ear monitors weren't working that well in those masks. They literally took one of those speakers, and they would mount it in behind their neck, or they'd mount it on the sides, depending upon the mask. So those little speakers were mounted wirelessly in there, so they could hear what was going on. There was another show. Because this company's been working with a lot of these reality shows, another one where the judges couldn't hear what was going on. The judges would be talking to the person on stage, they're talking to their microphone, but there's enough crowd noise from behind that they couldn't hear each other. So they worked it in, so those little speakers were in their outfits for the judges. Wow. So incredible little toys. Definitely not something that we're going to go buy immediately. The little lizard. Oh, and I spelled it wrong. They didn't have a spelling for me. I don't know. How'd you find that?
It's this newfangled thing, John, called the internet. Where I searched the Webernet. I went in that there. I went in that there Webernet and typed something in, and it came up.
I guess I didn't spell it wrong, so that was my problem.
I literally, no joke, I copied and pasted your spelling, and this came up.
Okay. I searched for it, and unless it didn't come up earlier, but because I was looking for it.
I'd like to know about it now that I.
Yeah. So anyway, you can see right there in his hand, right? That's the speaker. 2 of those, and that. So kind of a cool little technology, and that's the same company that came out with the Anaconda, which is basically a flexible speaker. Which, if you go to our Facebook page, there it is right there. We've talked about the Anaconda on a few occasions, and I've actually gotten to hear it at NAMM 2 or 3 years ago. That's been out for quite a while. That's an incredible sound, and it has this weird, wrapping around type of a thing, i.e. the Anaconda, but not applicable for anything we do. I mean, it could be if you'd run it through trussing all the way around your dance floor, and you had that running to mids and highs, and then you had your subwoofers, that could work. But right. K-Array's got a lot of interesting things, and their big thing they wanted to talk about in their room was their clarity of their speakers. Yes, they have a hard hit, but the clarity of so.
To paint a picture of that type of speaker, when Bose came out with their original uprights,
when
they were designing them, they were not designed for the crowd. They were designed to be 4 of them, and 1 in each corner of a stage to replace stage monitors for a band performing, where 1 in each corner pointing into the stage for people who are playing live music to be the new monitor. That's what they're originally designed for.
And then, of course, because of the throw and the dispersion, they would fill the room too.
It did a very good. It filled, within a certain distance range. It filled completely, yeah.
So
it's kind of neat seeing how that is developing into so many different things now.
Yeah. And that Bose was really one of the first ones on that.
I will say this though: there's one thing that I'm disappointed about with regard to I guess for lack of better terms, a lot of the column ones that we've got, they're putting these mixers on the back, and I think it's great for stuff where you're going to have a single set and not have to worry about adjusting anything. But I would love to see them have either, and there's been a little bit of setup with this, but an app where I can control those so that I'm not having to stand there next to the speaker and adjust it as we go. For case in point, I'm at a ceremony. I'm trying, and a lot of these kind of have a ceremony applications. I'm at the ceremony, and I'm not having to kneel down on the grass beside this thing to adjust because somebody decides that they're going to come up and speak differently, or we went through the sound check and then they stood differently, and so now I have to worry about potential feedback, like all those little things. I'd love to have a better control, whether that be even a plate that, so now I can stand by it as opposed to like kneel on the ground. Like I would love to see that type of piece put in.
I don't think you're going to see that, Dan. I think what you're going to see is the app, complete control. You're using the app to control, and the app,
and absolutely something.
Yeah, because then you can have your iPad open. You've got your iPad playing music. You got your other iPad that's controlling the microphones and sound levels, and many of the apps are able to do that and control everything right now, which makes it so much easier.
That's, again, where we talk about the change in future, even something as simple as that, to where before you would be plugging in a speaker to a mixer and tuning it that way, where in the future it's just going to be sound out and then everything's tuned at the speaker via a touchpad on your phone or whatever.
Yeah, it's amazing where that's going to go. Let's continue on. Lighting. From the lighting realm, it was an incredible disappointment, truthfully, from my discussion. Part of that is because LDI was out, and that's where Chauvet and American DJ brought out a couple of new products. If you're looking just for those, you did not have Blizzard, you did not have Eternal Lighting. Not that those are the only ones, but there were some of the players who in the past who had big booths or big presence there. They were not there this year. Continuing on that is that in the past, we've had a lot of Chinese companies there demonstrating lighting. This particular year was the lowest I have ever seen with Chinese companies there, to the point that they did not, the aisles, which are typically 20 feet wide, were 40 feet wide. There were sections of the room where there used to be booths. Now we had a spot for seating, and we had food vendors in the exhibit hall floor. The exhibitors, yes, we're into the second building, and there's an upper and a lower floor in that second building, but there was last year too. This year, I would put their booths were probably down. We're talking, I think they said there's 7,000 different companies represented there. Easily down, they were down probably somewhere around at 4 to 5%, I would say, would be a very fair number of what they were down. Maybe even a little strong of that. Some area, there was a section where they used to have all the way to the wall. They weren't that far. It was kind of an open area this year. There was another section where they used to, again, have that, where it's kind of like the Chinese, they kind of did a group buy. You didn't see that this year. So it was surprising. But getting back to the lighting, there were a couple of interesting things lighting wise. The one at probably the JMOS moving head fixture there, MJ. That one we'll talk about a little bit. American DJ did have a couple of new products. The Starship, which was, I don't know if it's going to be a real great DJ product. It's showing it's around that $700 to $800 price range, and it has some LEDs, and they swing back and forth. For some folks, you might love it. It's a centerpiece. I looked at it, and it didn't overly impress me, especially when it was up in the middle of the trussing, and it was basically lost up there. If you watch our video, it took time for us to find it.
Which one is it we're looking for?
Go to the JMOS, JMAZ.
I don't see that there.
That should be the battery moving head. I don't remember what the number was on that. I thought I had.
Yeah, right there. Bright colors and everything.
Yeah, this was probably lighting was the most interesting piece.
It's a lighting thing, and I can't even see it.
Yeah, exactly. It's hidden. But what this particular fixture and such is they have they're battery powered with those moving head fixtures. Oh, this would have been last year.
You don't want this? Isn't the video you wanted?
No, this is not. This was last year's or whatever.
Because is
maybe I didn't. I thought I had uploaded it already. But basically, what it is it's a kind of a.
Ago. That was you uploaded that 1 week ago.
Where would that have been taken? Yeah, that wasn't at that wasn't at X, or that
the
was.
newest ones you have loaded up are ADJ booth with the Starship centerpiece. You have the LED curtain video. You have the Golden Century, and that was all you have.
Mike Sanchez, and I think that was last year's one, and maybe we just triggered it to go. But anyway, it's a little moving head. You can go to I think it's jmods.com or their website, but it's a battery powered, and you can be full on running through the programs. 8 hours of runtime, completely wireless DMX, no cords needed because it's battery powered, lithium ion battery in there. It takes 5 hours to recharge fully, 8 hours of runtime, what have you. Yeah, Day and Night said he watched it, that it was up. I don't know if I mislabeled it. It could be. But that was in the lighting realm. That was the first. Oh, that's cool. Most of the things, American ADJ came out with the Starship, and then they came out with a 4-head bar type fixture, kind of like the Dots Par or the Dots Tree. But that was kind of neat. But it wasn't anything that's like, wow, that's new. It was just another version of that, and it looked like it had decent color mixing. Brian Red had it on. He had it on his channel, so ours must not have gotten up yet.
Do you remember the name of it? Because I'm on the JMAS website here.
Starts with an A. I'm sorry, I don't remember right off the...
Atmospheric?
Battery
and wireless?
No. Yeah, there we go. That's it. The aerial beam right there. So all of those, this is all their battery powered things, which we looked at the MadPar Hex and such. That little MadPar, that 4S, was kind of a cute little thing because it had, I think, 5 or 6 hours of runtime with all color LEDs on, 15 hours with just one color. But this was the thing. You got a nice moving head. It's a medium sized moving head. I believe it's got a 50-watt LED in it. There we go, 50-watt LED. The color wheel, gobos, and again, it's battery powered. So you could set 8 of them up around the room and do uplighting and do the things with that quick and easy. And it's an attractive little light. And I've got a couple of different versions.
Going on the technology changing theme that we've done all this evening with all the different types of new DJ gear, this goes along with it for those people who DJ'd back in the days and literally had to count how many amps they were using when they plugged in with the power, both not even plugging into the wall power of any place you're going into, let alone how much it's using and stuff. That it's just so totally changed the business. I think if you were back in the day and you had, like I said, you've had to figure out how much wattage your lights was pulling to where you were going into or require a special plug-in or all this kind of stuff. You don't have to think so much about that when it's stuff like this.
For sure. And I think that was, again, probably in the lighting realm was the biggest, like, oh my moment. Turn it down 25 watts and make it. Yeah, you could dim it down, Jimmy, and I suppose that would be a possibility. Yeah. Jimmy, he's
little tricks and
Jimmy's
stuff.
He's trying to figure ways out on that. So, but in the lighting realm, that was it. They changed one thing in the arena. The arena at one time there, it's basically convention center, and then they have like this hockey arena type area. In the past, that used to be the DJ area, and it was kind of DJ lighting area. They'd fog it up, and that's where many of the companies were. Then it kind of scaled down last year. This year, they took everybody out of there. So they could be actually, now that I'm thinking about it, they're probably closer to 10% off on their booths because that at one time probably held 50 booths in there, 40 booths in there. Yeah, and those were gone too. So that area was set up for speaker demonstrations, and I don't think I have uploaded that video yet. But the arena, they had half of the room. Oh, well, there's that.
That's Brian's video.
There we go. Yep, there was one of the JMODs. There's again a couple of them.
That still is impressive to think that's completely disconnected. And if you run some sort of wireless control, DMX control, that blows your mind what is possible nowadays, in my mind.
Yeah, you pick them up and walk away with it. So, if your guests want to steal it at the wedding,
I was just gonna say that.
more power to them. So. So yeah, there was a kind of a speaker shootout going on there, and Michael Brandon and I, we went in there we wanted to hear Bass Boss because Michael wanted to hear Bass Boss. We heard them at DJ Expo, but we wanted to go to a larger space. So we went in there, and there was this company called Void, I believe it is, Void Speakers, that was doing the demo when we first got in there. And these are these retro-y red things that look like something that came out of the 60s. Just a funky look, but oh my goodness gracious, the clarity and the sound quality and the bass hit on those, could feel it in your chest. So it was really cool. We're listening to that. It's like, yeah, this is really neat. Then they went over to this other brand that looked like somebody took their DJ system and stacked their 18-inch subs and then put their tops on it and tried to make this wall. And it sounded like bad DJ speakers that they stacked their subs and tried to put the tops up. It was horrible. And we're like sitting there, and then we were eating our lunch, and then Bass Boss came on because they had food in there also. Bass Boss started with their DJ system, which is the 12-inch two-way top and the 18-inch subs. Easily as filling with sound as that big Void system, which was like probably a $30,000 system over there. It was just incredible. And then they went to their line arrays and did their big things. Very impressed with how that Bass Boss 4-speaker system, and MJ, you've talked about this, that the Bass Boss is at a different level, and no question about it. They were definitely that.
And until you hear them, I've heard so many people talk smack, go, no, I have this, I have this, I have this. And then once they hear it and they go, I don't have that.
And what we're getting back to the crappy DJ speakers, they stood 8 foot tall, that stack, and they just didn't have that sound. The Bass Boss, they're standing 7 foot tall or whatever it was. The 12-inch was about a head height, so whatever that would have been. They had that kind of that higher sound that you would expect from a concert thing. When they went to their line array, yes, you could hear that the sound was coming from a higher point, but it wasn't as noticeable of a difference as I would have expected. So I definitely have a new respect for Bass Boss. I will say this is the big guys at Bass Boss do not understand what volume is. They were way too loud when they went to their line array. The people were walking out with that. They were plugging their ears. Literally, we were sitting there. We pulled out our acoustic filters. It's like, I've got half of my sandwich left. I'm not going to get up and leave my sandwich or take that with. So plugged up, way too loud. At the microphone the little booth where they were gauging the decibel reading, was 150 feet away from them, and they had 122 dB at 150 feet.
The question is, was it clear?
Clear as a bell.
That's why I think they were doing it, probably showing you that
it could.
You want loud, you want outdoor. Let's say you have an outdoor event, we can cover it.
Exactly. There's no question about it. And they had their system EQ better than Void did. Void had a little bit too much bass, but then when Void cranked it up, they could show that their bass was hitting hard and there was no distortion whatsoever. So I understand that they could, because it's like, all you need to do is pull bass down one or two clicks, and then I've got a perfect balance. Bass Boss they were balanced. They sounded good. It's just that they were so loud that they chased more people out of the room. Literally chased them out of the room. Than
the price of them, I think, chases people out of the room sometimes.
Everything in that room pretty much did. The only thing that was in DJ RCF was in there, and they had a pair of J8s in there. And it's like, I look down. It's like, why would you have J8s in here? Because this is a huge room. And then behind them they had a kind of a stack of 18-inch subs, and then above they had an array up there. So it's like, okay, so the J8s are here to look at, and they probably ran them too, which they would have made noise in there. It's just would have been that chest pounding bass. And
just a shout out to Bass Boss that they do with some of their people, because I've heard several DJs who have purchased a system from them, and they 3 years later want to upgrade to something new. They have helped them sell their old stuff to people who are looking for used Bass Boss stuff, which I thought was kind of like when you talk about what do you call that? Like the customer service. Mm-hmm. That's quite a unique customer service.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. That's really neat. Day mentioned, of course, this was actually another complaint from the Bass Boss guys. Day mentions we asked them, looking for what they were playing, we asked them for a demo, and they play acoustic Neil Young. They played a couple of EDM type tracks, and then they played country music. And I'm thinking, wait a second, MJ's not here to be listening to this. If he was here, I could see him playing country music too, so he would buy them. But hey, there's the rest of us. We're not into country music like MJ is. Come on.
If they made country music sound good to me, I would spend that money on speakers.
Michael is sitting there and he looks at the speakers and he goes, these speakers sounded really good until now.
Well, I think it's a thought. You talk about most sound engineers, they will not put a pop song on to demo a system for sound engineers because they feel that it is too overproduced and you don't really get to understand what good sound is. And I think that's probably why they're grabbing the Neil Youngs and stuff, because they're not overproduced in the studio. You're getting a purity and they want you to hear a purity. That's my only guess as to why they do that.
Yeah, that certainly could be, but I don't think I didn't see many wearing blue jeans and flannel shirts and cowboy boots in the room. I'm just gonna say, if everyone was from Pittsburgh, I'm sure they could have gotten more country
I will
miles.
Slug you, son. I will drive up there to your negative 20 degree temperature and slug you.
So on that happy note, our friends at Electro Voice, they're a big sponsor of us. I'll give them a shout out. They came out with a new RE3 wireless microphone system. And the big thing with this particular system is it has 3 different band widths that it uses in this microphone. It has on the little shot there, you're seeing it has different elements. It has the same body for the handheld, but you can change the elements depending upon what you're needing for cardioid, hypercardioid, or what have you. Then it has the belt packs and all the different things with that. But the biggest is it has the 500L, which is the lower end of the 500 spectrum, which is the spectrum where it's open for mics. 500 high, which is the upper end. Now, in some markets, you would have to go one or the other, and this is where guys like Ben Stowe are smart enough to go and check it out and know and tell you which one you need. But in the 600 megahertz band, there are 10 frequencies that are reserved for wireless microphones. They have the 600M, which is using those 10. Why this is significant is that if you're a traveling DJ and you want to use your same microphones everywhere you go, you buy that one because that one will work anywhere you go in the United States. Some markets, the 500L will work better. Some markets, the 500H will work better. But the 600M will work everywhere because those bands are wireless microphone only. And Electro Voice is the only company that basically has created something for those 10 areas. So if you need 20 mics, that's not going to be an option for you. You could use some of those, and then you could do the 500L or 500H. But for those who just need to have a couple of wireless microphones and you want to be able to use them in any market, you could go that direction. So that was a big thing from Electro Voice. There will be more from Electro Voice later in the year, and if things work out, we're going to be the one to introduce and announce those with Electro Voice, kind of like we did with the Evolve 50, and that's about as far as I'm going to say of what's going to happen there.
To make sure my retro Electro Voice T-shirt is nice and washed so I can wear it for that night of the show.
Our show when we do that, that'll be kind of a fun thing. So if you guys are kind of speculating on what EV's coming out with, all I can say is it will make noise. That's as far as I'll go. Let's see.
So we know it's not a light then.
It isn't a light. Yes, Electro Voice is not getting into lighting, so we'll go with that.
Hey, that's good to hear.
That's good. Yeah.
One of the things that also that caught my eye with the Electro Voice handhelds is that they had a rechargeable base to them.
Yes.
Which I've not noticed. Which I've not noticed in some of your more, I guess, common lines, if you will. So to see that and to see a rechargeable, not just for the handheld, but also for the body packs, was something that just kind of caught my eye because I was just like, oh, that's a nice feature. I mean, batteries. I'm changing batteries every week, but to know it's right there, and even at the point where I could even charge it at the event, I guess if for some reason I really needed to.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I think like I said, that was one of the things I was like, wow, that's nice. That's a nice thing to see come out. So
technology. Don't be afraid of it. Just be cautious and don't be. I will tell people not necessarily you don't have to be an early adopter, but don't be afraid of it.
For sure.
Because there are guys out there that are still using the old mics that have the interfering signals.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to check them out.
As Mike and I were talking, early wireless microphones were FM. And I actually ran into a DJ who's still using an FM microphone with his system.
Wow. I remember having a Radio Shack Realistic FM wireless that I used for a long time until I got my first Shure wireless system. And then now that's considered old compared to the digital stuff now. So
yeah, the first one was the VHF and we had those, and it's like, woohoo, we got something going here.
It was a big deal not to have a mic that was wireless at that point.
Oh, that was big time.
You were a high class act. You know, you had a great business if you had wireless microphones to offer.
Yeah, that time. Let's see. Is there anything else? Our friends at ProX. ProX is, of course, another big sponsor of ours. They were going to have, I think they were looking at about 20 different new products that were going to be introduced at the show. They ended up having shipping, the nightmare shipping situation that everyone is afraid of, and you have fear of this and you have nightmares. It happened to them. Their truck gets to one location and it was diverted to another because of the snowstorm. It's in that location, then a snowstorm hits that location and they lose another day. Then the truck is going down to another, it gets delayed. Then it gets down to Las Vegas and then the truck is in an accident. Their gear never made it.
Oh,
yeah. So Gabriel ended up going to his local dealers and he got a few pieces. He did have a couple of the new pieces.
Pictures, show them.
His booth was really. It was definitely much less than, but on my purchase and adjusted down to they're going to a little suitcasey thing. And then he comes back with.
He is watching on Facebook. What's up?
Yeah. You guys are getting.
I'm going in. I'm going to start annoying people with emojis right now. What I think I'm going to do. I haven't done emojis in a while.
So
remember when I used to do that on Monday Night Chat? I would do emojis.
Yeah, we get bored and we go to emojis. If they couldn't be entertained by intelligence, we'd just. Oh, there we go.
Are we back?
Hey, something's moving.
We're back, and I got to throw out some emojis.
Okay, so I think we might be back. Okay. What
was the last? Those of you who are in the chat, what was the last thing you heard us say before we
Flex totems?
Flex totems. We were talking, and I don't think they got to see the Flex totem video. So that was probably from ProX. The Flex totem was a little collapsible, foldable, goes into a bag. Nice little unit that I think is going to be something I'm going to be looking forward to adding to my shows for my weddings this summer. You can adjust it from 1 meter to 2 meter, and it all comes apart, folds down. Yes, there's a little bit of taking it apart to get it to into that portable, but two of those, you could put two of those, two speakers and such in the backseat of your car, and you can function. My totems I have at home, there's no way I could do that, or that I have on the other side, that are the 2 meter bars. So that's something we definitely want to be checking out. Again, ProX was going to have a lot more things. They didn't have a ton of things there at the show because of their trucking problems, which is unfortunate. But Gabriel was taking it in stride and such, and I think he still had a good show because more and more people have heard of his products and have watched the videos of things that what I've done and Brian Red or whoever. So it was good. The other thing is, MJ, there was a video that Dave. With Odyssey cases that I did with Dave. I don't think it says that. It might say that. That one I don't think is live. So it would be one of the top or the later videos that on the non-live videos on the.
Oops! I don't want to play all. I just hit play all. I don't want to play.
Because if you can go to that one, but Odyssey has road cases and they've got their tables and different things. But what they've introduced at this year's show is a clamping system. So if you've got your tray where you would slide that back, and on most of them it just slides back and maybe has a little stop, they've actually got a little buckle clamping system now. So you can slide it back and then you clamp it, and it's not going anywhere. So I think the spot you'd see that again would be in the private videos.
Which I was logged in as me before.
So that's why you're okay. So that's why you didn't see the JMOS. I didn't make that one live yet either.
Yeah. So if we're looking for which one?
It would be the Odyssey.
There it is. Wow, there is a lot of videos. So for those of you, John has a lot of videos coming.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff.
Before now that I know I'm logged in as the proper person here. Here we go.
There we go. Right there on the side, this is kind of an addition that they have done. Is you can see there's the clamp there that they didn't kind of scroll in away, or go in there a little ways. Right there is a good shot of it. You can pause right there, MJ.
I'll go back. Oops. I'm click happy.
But they've added this one little simple piece, and it's on a few right there. There, I'm actually holding one of them from the other one. That little simple piece right there, and then you can see the two little clamps there that are just basically
Butterfly clamps.
Butterfly clamp. Thank you. That is such a simple little thing, but notice it lifts that front end up another 2 inches, and it lifts the back end up, so you got a different angle on it. But then with that little clamp, or that little clip, you can push things back. So now on, like, if I would have this on my 7000, I can now reach the microphone controls. I can't reach the microphone controls with my current tray, and that's a frustration with me. Well, this brings it up, and it actually brings it up and forward just a hair bit. And then
do they have the angle one, or do they have just flat lifters?
No, they have both. You can see right behind Dave's shoulder there is that's the flat version that they have it, and you can actually take that piece out and you could use it or not use it, because that little piece will go on those two grooves right there.
Right there, yeah.
Yep. So that's one that doesn't have it, but yeah, they can take that out and do that.
That's you have to take it out though for the.
Put the case back on, yeah.
Yeah.
And what he's showing there, that's a reversible case that Dave's showing us right here that could be used if you wanted to do the mixer and the one turntable and you were left-handed, or if you're right-handed.
And that's something we talk about DJs being picky, that there's a whole portion of the industry out there that is against DJs using one turntable and a mixer and using instant doubles. They say that's not real DJing.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people who are requesting that functionality, that I could be left-handed, I could be right-handed. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of videos. I'm going to start dumping more of them. My goal is to have them all down, or all up, I should say, by this week. The rest will be hitting.
Was there anything else you wanted me to hit in the behind here?
I don't remember right off the top of my head. I don't think so.
Pro X clam cases are there. Yep. The Odyssey Gear DJ table's there.
Yep, the table was kind of a little trussing table. It was kind of neat, but yeah, those will just drop. There's really nothing new and earth-shattering.
Direct Moby Buddy by Pro X. I don't even know what that is.
What was it again?
Oh, those are Buddy.
Yeah, those are little gooseneck types things for phones and such. So that you guys will see that video. That's nothing. That was nothing earth-shattering. That was like probably the.
Sennheiser wireless system.
Yeah, Sennheiser has. They're actually, if you see the videos and you're seeing me with the microphone I'm using, we were actually using a Sennheiser. It's the something 4. That's the 400 series, which is a battery powered transmitter and a battery powered receiver. So I have a belt pack transmitter. I have the one that goes on the microphone transmitter, and then we have the receiver and a camera. That system was like $1,300.
XLR, just pop in.
Yep, XLR, pop it in. You tighten it up a little bit so it snugs up on that, and you can use any mic with it. So at the fishing shows and things I do in Minneapolis, I'm using the microphone that is the EV mic that has a bigger pickup. It's the broadcast mic, basically. For this show, you'll see I'm using a Sennheiser. I think that's the 865 I'm using. I believe that's what that one was. And it allowed me to get that noise cancellation off to the side, and then it sounded really good. You will see one set of videos from Floyd Rose. I actually used my headset. I turned that on to do one of the videos because I wanted to have my hands free to do the video. I forgot to shut it off, so this overrode the other microphone. So you're hearing the audio from this, like the one that Brandon and I did together. You're hearing the audio from this, and I'm holding the other microphone. Didn't realize it, and we couldn't hear what it was hearing. We were hearing what the handheld was hearing, and it sounded fine, but anyway.
What about this? Do you want to say anything about this, or you just want to wait for the video to come out?
That's the Gemini, their version of a little line array system. Excuse me. Price point on that is probably the coolest thing, is that full system is going to map at $499. So that's probably going to sell online. That's going to be somewhere in that, I would say $425 to somewhere in the upper 3s to 4, low 4s. What's cool about that system, that it's got a wood box, you've got the composite tops, but you'll see that it has a Neutrik or a speak-on connection in the back. Most of these little cheap systems have a 1/4 inch. You can kind of see the little blue there, right there. Yep. We don't get too much, but yeah, it's a speak-on connection system. Most of these cheap ones that are coming out of China that are all downstairs are 1/4 inch jacks. which I'm not a huge fan of 1/4-inch jacks. Yes, I had bows that had 1/4-inch jacks for 20 years, but I've had to replace, and they've been a problem. So yeah, that was an interesting little, and you see the $499 map pricing, which again, map pricing and what you're actually going to pay from a dealer once they're available. I went through Gemini's booth, and I wanted to do some more videos with Gemini gear because truthfully, Gemini videos on YouTube really do well. I went and looked at that device you showed earlier, MJ, and I was playing with it, and it's like, this thing is just trash. I went over to their other standalone one that they had there, and I was using it, and it's like, okay, I'm on the jog wheel, and the jog wheel just feels loose as I'm touching the outside, not because of the inside, which was supposed to be touch sensitive, what have you. And when you touch it, you'd hear it kind of go like a mouse, click, 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 click. It was, the whole thing was like, it just, there was so much in the area there from Gemini. I was so disappointed about.
This is the one you're talking about that clicked or not?
No, not that one.
This is their standalone system because they have a completely standalone system too. This is theirs.
Yeah, that particular one, I think that it wasn't the clicking on the wheels. That one, I think that the wheels felt so plasticky. It just felt like a toy.
Well, most of their stuff is the lower end, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, exactly. And I was looking for something that I could talk and say, hey, this is something too. But you're getting into some of these, their prices getting up there, and it's like, goodness, if I'm going to spend $400 on that, I would rather see someone spend $400 on something that's going to be there for a number of years. And I don't think that's going to be something there. So.
But again, we back to take it full circle. We talked about how many people would buy the 1200. You in your mind go, how many people would buy that? But they must sell a lot of them.
Yeah. Jimmy said that thing's $999. Holy cats.
Yeah, the standalone, I think it is. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Then I wouldn't.
Keep in mind that's the standalone that can work with a laptop or without a laptop.
Damn, that's true. And there is a market for that. I mean, you mentioned in your show you're going to be doing on the Rewind Report this week, you mentioned Stanton's standalone system that they came out with 3 or 4 years ago. I'm going to be doing, just to let you know what's coming up. Those of you who watched my Wednesday night show, Music and Mixing, that we're going to put it in the Insiders area. We have some great videos coming up, stuff that you guys asked for. We're going to be doing some stuff on how to correct songs that were offbeat with Ableton. We're going to show you how to do it with Virtual. We're going to show you how I make my flyers for the DJ events, how I make my videos. We're going to show a little bit of everything in there. It's not going to be just DJing. So if you want to be part of the Insiders area, you're going to get a lot of good information like this. Now we're going to go beyond just the what the show Music and Mixing did about mixing. I'm going to be showing how, like I said, how to make flyers. It's going to be a whole show on how to break that down. But the show that's coming up is, because of all the standalones that have come out recently, I'm going to do a little reround report talking about all the different ones that are there and how that we are moving that way in this industry. And like I said, right now, if I'm going to count down through there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There are currently 14 different standalone devices from different companies that you could currently buy. So it's not something that's, it's a part of our lives. Very much so.
Like I said, in 5 years, think about what you used 10 or 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, and how things have changed.
Now. Yeah.
Greg, I don't know why. Why did you come up with you brought up the hey, good looking, the Mr. Microphone thing that Mark just mentioned. I don't know why I'm missing the connection, because we came up with the same thing. There was something we saw at NAMM, and we're like, oh my God, that's the Mr. Microphone. What did I see that was that? I cannot remember. Oh, so I had to explain the whole. I walked around NAMM with Andy Powell from DJ Event Planner. He was down there too, and we saw that, and we basically went to the Mr. Microphone. Hey, good looking. I'll pick you up later. And it's like, then we started talking about how that would be stalking in today's world.
Yeah.
So Mark or Greg,
me too.
Yeah, if one of you guys,
if you saw that video, yeah, go look up. But is it the Sonos Lupa handheld looping mic?
No, I don't. I don't think so. I don't think think it was one of our videos that I think we saw it somewhere.
I'm just looking. I just typed in NAMM Mr. Microphone and see if anybody else labeled stuff that way.
Greg,
that's what you have to do sometimes. Again, you talk about how we do our news here on Disc Jockey News. Sometimes I literally will go to like Twitter or something and hashtag something like that and see what all comes up. And hashtag new Denon or hashtag new Pioneer, and people will put little hints out there about stuff, because there are hints out there also that I saw this week, and I can show you that it was a post put out by Newmark saying, be patient. I know you're waiting for the Newmark NS7 IV. Be patient.
Mm-hmm.
We're listening to you. Be patient. So apparently they're working on a version 4. So
and
that's how we've got to dig for it.
Speaking of the listening thing, we did that first video, and then there were some questions, and one of which, MJ, was yours asking about the waveforms, because they are vertical on the Prime 4. And talking to Jay the next morning, he's like, we've had people asking us in the next generation of the firmware, they're going to have that option of horizontal. So it's really kind of cool when you guys are asking questions and you're sharing and have ideas. I have a list of things, Jay, that on my notes on my Apple, I've got a Newmark Prime 4 thoughts, and I've been taking everything you guys have put in the chat or in the comment section. And if it's been something stupid, of course, I just said, Jimmy, no, they can't do that. But if it's been a good idea, then I have moved it on.
That's the wonderful thing, again, about the technology as it advances, where before we would have to wait for the next controller to come out with it. With this kind of thing, you just wait for the next update to come out with it. And that's the kind of cool thing, that some of the stuff that you may want, you won't have to buy a new thing to get what you want. You just have to wait till they give you the new update. Embrace the technology. Don't be afraid of it.
Embrace it. There's a lot of cool stuff.
Celebrate it.
So, so we a couple of things. The tariffs that we've been talking, you guys have heard about. I think that was probably one of the big reasons we didn't see as many Chinese companies coming across, because the ones that I did talk to that could speak English had talked about the cost that they've now accruing by bringing shipping gear over to the United States, because many of these companies are doing direct ship, and they're trying to find ways around that and being creative, what have you. So that, I think, had an effect on it. I think more importantly was the slowdown of the Chinese economy. That seemed to be a big thing, is because a couple of the guys I talked to were talking about how their business in China, they're not selling as much of their gear in China, which fits back into the slowdown of the economy. So fewer Chinese companies there. Some of the major companies in the U.S. that had large booths in the past did not have that large of a footprint at this year's show. So that made a big difference. And then there's more food areas because they were trying to fill some of these spaces. So NAMM overall, good show. Some of the dealers didn't go because of the Amazon effect. That was feeling a part of it. I really think that I think NAMM's going to have a tough time surviving another 10 years. I really do. And I know it's a huge show. I know it has what it has, but we're going into a new era with the internet, and that internet is causing repercussions on the NAMM show floor. Probably my biggest gripe with NAMM booths is when you have companies that we want to go do, and I'm going to point out Sennheiser. I love Sennheiser stuff. You saw me using it. I go to the Sennheiser room and I want to talk to them about a microphone, the little XS system that you'll see the video on later. I want to talk to them about that. Well, they have a stage set up and they have performers going on. People who are watching those performers don't have a bit of they're not buyers. They're basically people who are there. They're kind of the groupies that have gotten they're there watching the performers. So here I am as someone who is, in media trying to do my job. It's so loud I can't talk to them. And their people are watching the performance. It's like, you're here for a business event. And I know that they bring these performers in, no-name performers. I mean, it's truthfully what most of them are. They bring them in to catch people's attention. Okay, you've got tens of thousands of dollars into a booth. You've got union fees, all this. You've got $100,000 into this booth, and you can't do business because of this dang stage that's way too loud. And that happened at booth after booth after booth as I'm walking around. It's like, do these companies have no concept of how to run a darn business? It just floors me.
It's funny because I come from the other side to where literally when Rain released their list of performers they were having on the Rain thing,
mm-hmm.
I tweeted it out to everybody, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, I would never leave the Rain booth the whole day, because every person they had to me was someone I wanted to see DJ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you're going and seeing the people DJ, you're not getting the information on what they've got there.
Yes, but if I'm a person going to shop and I get tied into, because remember, it's not about all the time, it's not always about what's best. It's about brand connection. And if you then now have a connection with Rain because of some artists that you think are cool, there's a chance that if you were leaning away from Rain, you might lean towards Rain. And that's this whole business is about psychology. Don't ever think it's anything about other than psychological, getting you to like something, identify with it, connect with it, and that's how they get you.
And I could definitely see that if that would be happening at DJ Expo. But this particular show is not supposed to have end users. It's supposed to have dealers there. And dealers are there basically. If you talk to Ben Stowe, they had, I think, 4 or 5 staff members, and each of them had like 50 to 100 meetings set up to go talk and look at the gear. They can't work when this is going on. Yes, they have the private offices and the little closets and such around the booth, but they can't do what they need to do at that level. So I can see why from what you're saying, MJ, would work. And at DJ Expo all day long, you've got to have somebody there showing and demonstrating and doing some different things at different levels so that people can look at that and say, oh yeah, that's kind of how I mix. And I could see myself as that person. That's why, Michael, he did a different type of mix than some of the other guys that did, and you did a different mix than some of the others. And each one of you, somebody could relate to your style and say, yeah, that's kind of how I would do it. Oh, I guess it would work for me. I can see that. I just don't see the other. So anyway,
I think both expos are kind of turning from what they used to be to almost in the same realm of a little bit of everything, whatever we can fit in for the price. Can we get the dealers and the fans as we're paying? Because it's becoming such a thing, an internet world that you kind of have to feed the crowd differently now. And it physically shows up.
And that internet world's a great thing, because you had DJ Bar there. And on Thursday there were probably, just within the DJ community, there were at least 10 influencers there that are doing a lot of videos. We could not shoot video and upload. No internet. This is 2019. We should be able to have Wi-Fi in that building that works. Yes, there's 5 million people there, or 50,000 people, or whatever there were. The Las Vegas Convention Center, they figured it out. I can stream live walking around a convention center, and you guys can watch that with a ton of other people. I could not understand. And Bar, of course, is there for like one day. The guy flies in, he's there for the day, and he's out again because he has a wedding the next day. I'm thinking we're going to see some cool stuff drop after the fact, but he could have done some great stuff live, but no connection. So disappointing.
5G, hurry up.
Yeah, for sure. And then they'll have that speed. Well, I think we should wrap it up here, guys. We've been going a long time. Dan's got to go because he's going to get ready to shovel snow tomorrow.
Yep.
Are we getting snow? I don't know.
We're getting some.
You guys should get some. And
there's one product that that caught my eye. I don't know if I saw it in you. I know I saw Katie's video from over at NLFX. Rock and Roller.
Oh yeah.
Got some bags. They finally realized that their handlebars can be used for more than just being handlebars, and so they've got some nice bags for being able to put tripods in and different speaker stands and things like that. And when I saw that, I got excited because I'm tired of them falling off of my cart as I'm pulling in it, because those are the one things that don't sit like they should, I guess, for lack of better terms. So it's for those of you that haven't seen, I don't know if MJ's trying to find a video or a picture or whatever, but this just basically a long bag that's going to fit over top of one end of the handlebars, and then you just stick what you want in there, and then it zips up nice and snug, and then you can pull it and go how you need to. I thought it was great, not just from the standpoint of maybe something falling off, but depending on how long I've made my cart, sometimes my stands stick out. If I've got just kind of a nice easy setup or something like that, I'm not carrying in a long cart. Now my ends are sticking out a little bit more. So having a bag, nice and useful for that. So that was one of the things I was waiting for you guys to talk about.
I've seen some DJs kind of made their own about 2 or 3 years ago, and somebody was actually selling those, and I'm wondering if Rock and Roller gave them a cease and desist. The bag idea is kind of neat, but a couple of the guys who got the early versions that the other folks were making said that they used them once and they were just more cumbersome than beneficial. So I saw Katie's video or whoever's video on that. Jeremy Lambie actually went back. He was there Saturday and Sunday, and he went and shot a video. And Jeremy looked at it and he's like, "Yeah, no, this isn't something." But he did shoot the video on it, so we'll get to see it. But if Jeremy's one of these guys who's like, "Yeah, no, That generally means that it's not going to make him money. It's not going to make him quicker getting set up or in on a building. And it's probably going to be something that won't last very long because he wants to. So
back to the drawing board.
Yeah. So it might be, we'll have to see his video and kind of look at it a little bit more. So
I can't find a video on that or anything.
Yeah, so. I know I saw it also online. I don't remember who did it.
LFX's page, and it wasn't there with theirs.
Yeah.
So. But hey, it's now your job as the viewer to go find it.
Yeah.
Feel free to post the link in the show notes below. Not in the show notes, but in the comment
section.
That's what we want you to do. We want you to engage with the videos and the stuff that we do. Like if you like it, share if you like it. Let us know. Let us know what you want us to cover. And I know I'm banging on my table here, and I've got a mic. It's making it shaky. But yeah.
Excellent. Well, gang, we're going to wrap things up. We went half an hour longer, which we were going to use kind of as a little gab time tonight. So we'll tomorrow night, actually, we're going to have Reggie. Reggie and I are going to be talking polka music for the first session. And then for this second Reggie and I will be at 9 o'clock Eastern. And then once we're done with the polka music, we're actually going to open up and do a chat tomorrow night. Because my children do not have school on Wednesday because schools have been canceled because it's going to be 65 below on tomorrow night.
I didn't think they did that in Minnesota.
Yeah, they
finally
did.
Just put on a coat and
most
go.
Schools have closed down for Tuesday and Wednesday, and Thursday we're looking at a morning air temperature about 25 below here. So if there's any wind predicted for Thursday morning, they will either be late or canceled on Thursday also. So anyway, tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern, Reggie and I will go on talking polka music, giving you guys ideas for old-time music and some usable songs for your shows. We're going to look at the different areas. And then, again, live chat after that, and we'll catch you guys then. Good night, everybody.